It all begins in a demon lord's castle, where the demon lord shows some hero wannabes who's boss. However, when some real heroes show up and jointly attack her, she ends up on the wrong end of a sword. While Silver stands back like a useless +1 on the team, his comrades chose to let the demon lord live. 5 years later, in a guild house, Silver enjoys a drink while Verlaine, the shopkeeper, flirts with him. When he insinuates that she's doing too much to get his attention, Verlaine blames him for keeping her waiting for 5 years and reminds him of his promise to return her talisman. Before this, Verlaine used to be the demon lord, but after Silver and his hero friends defeated her, Silver took the talisman that enabled her to use a part of her powers and told her to come for it in 5 years. Although Silver pretended to be the mascot on the team of heroes, Verlaine figured he was just trying to be modest. So, one day she visited Silver's guild house to redeem his promise, but for some reason, she fell in love with the bartending career path and magically altered her appearance to fit in. So Silver reminds her that she refused his offer to return the talisman as promised, but Verlaine says she has anticipated the moment so much and adds that it's outrageous that he's trying to return it so casually. When she insists that she won't accept it if he doesn't acknowledge her feelings, Silver suggests that they duel if she needs revenge. However, Verlaine says he might pin her down and forcefully flood her pipes since she's powerless without the talisman. Just then, Manarina, the royal princess, walks into the shop, concealing her identity, and reveals that she'd like to annul the engagement between the royal princess and the Marquis. Curious, Verlaine asks her how she's related to either of them to make such a request, and Manarina tells a lie, saying she's the princess's maid-in-waiting. When she adds that the princess does not want the marriage, Silver recalls that the house of the Marquis is a famous noble house, but since Jean, the groom-to-be, is a Casanova, he gets with women and pumps them full of his progeny. However, since it's the norm for royal and noble families, Verlaine suggests that the princess cancel the engagement if she doesn't want it. Afterwards, Verlaine asks if there's a way to annul the engagement, and Manarina states that the royal family can refuse the demand through a duel. In addition to this, she reveals that the princess is no match for the Marquis based on the adventurer's scale. Just then, Silver requests some milk and enchants the glass of milk while thinking he has to solve any request brought to the guild using any methods without standing out. When he passes the glass of milk to Manarina, he says it's his treat, but she states that her order was a password and insinuates that it's offensive for Silver to treat her like she's immature. Verlaine then apologizes to Manarina, saying she forgot to process her order and suggests she take Silver's offer. After this, Manarina apologizes for causing the disturbance and returns to their previous discussion. However, when she tastes the milk, she comments on how delicious it tastes, while Verlaine thanks her for the review. Verlaine then reiterates that challenging the Marquis to a duel is the way to annul the engagement, but chips in that the princess can't win with her current power. In response, Verlaine says that the guild will ensure her victory, so Manarina asks if they're planning on poisoning the Marquis. Verlaine then states that the guild completes their requests without leaving traces of evidence. Just then, Silver places another order for Manarina and apologizes for ordering her milk earlier. Verlaine then serves a special cup of booze, and Manarina comments on how pretty it looks. On tasting it, she insinuates that Silver's look doesn't do justice to his taste. She then chips in that she could have gone home with him if he had offered her the booze first, but Silver says that he's not making advances towards her. The next day, during the duel, the Marquis somehow falls and almost loses his family jewels to Manarina's sword, so she is declared the winner of the duel. Later at the guild house, Aileen, a member of the Demon Lord Expedition group, asks him if he demanded a reward from the princess. Silver then explains that he had the princess talk to the king, since some nobles were selfishly using the knights for personal business. Hearing this, Aileen comments that Silver is nice, but he states that it's the knight's duty to hunt monsters as long as they get properly rewarded. Verlaine then chips in that the Marquis lost his street cred after the duel, but Aileen says he deserves it and adds that the buff Silver put on the princess wasn't foul play. After this, Aileen comments on Manarina's beauty and reveals she's been offered many marriage proposals, but Verlaine states that Manarina won't accept any, since she's learned of Silver's charm. When Silver says it's unlikely, the doorbell rings, and Verlaine says they can't let Silver be seen in the kitchen. So she heads out and asks if she could be of help to them. Just then, one of the ladies requests to see the person in charge of the guild and opens her hood. She then tells Verlaine to bring out Silver since there's no point hiding him. 5 years before this, the team of heroes was rewarded by the king for defeating the Demon Lord. After the others got their requests, the king pointed out that Silver didn't have much of an achievement, but asked him to make his request. Hearing this, one of the heroes attempted to correct the king, but Silver stopped her and stated that it took everything he had to keep up with the others. When the king heard this, he asked Silver to pocket his modesty and make his wish. So Silver got on his knees and requested permission to create a new guild in the capital. In response, the king pointed out that the kingdom has 12 adventurer guilds, but the 12th guild isn't doing well since its master was dismissed. The king then said he could take over the guild and start working. Silver then asked if the guild house doesn't stand out, and the king said it's built in a location where the public order is bad. So, Silver thanked the king while Manarina overheard the conversation. Back in the guild house, Mylarka insists on her demand to see Silver while stating that she watched the duel between Manarina and the Marquis, and figured it should be impossible for Manarina to win against the Marquis. After this, she reveals that only Silver was capable of making that happen with his enhancement magic. 5 years before this, Mylarka was a part of the Demon Lord's punitive force and a holder of absolute magic. Some years after this, she became a professor at the Magic University, and because of her fierce personality and destructive powers, she was regarded as a beautiful disaster. So Silver gets out of hiding and asks Mylarka why she's addressing the princess without honorifics. In response, Mylarka reveals that she's Manarina's teacher. Just then, Manarina apologizes for lying about her origin and introduces herself. Judging from Silver's unsurprised look, Manarina says he already noticed, but Silver says he only confirmed it when Mylarka said it. However, Mylarka calls him a liar and adds that she gets irritated when she looks at him, since he's always like that. Manaria then reveals that Mylarka told her about the guild when she was troubled about her engagement. But Mylarka regrets telling Manaria about the guild and points at Silver while calling him a beast. Silver then asks Mylarka what she thinks he did, and she points out that Silver's help has a catch, since Manarina will be required to prove again that she's stronger than the Marquis, and she'll need to meet with Silver again to have the enhancement magic cast on her. When she insinuates that Silver is trying to draw Manarina in to feast on her, Silver swears that he didn't have an ulterior motive. When she refuses to believe him, Silver figures she must be aggressive towards him because of their past grievances. Suddenly, Aileen gets out of hiding and grabs Mylarka's melons, surprising Mylarka, who then asks what she's doing. So Aileen apologizes to Mylarka for avoiding her and squeezes the life out of her hot air balloons. When she comments on how big they've grown, Aileen shows Silver and asks him what he thinks, but he gets brain-fried by the sight. Mylarka then comments that Silver wouldn't be interested in her and refers back to a time when he had a drink with Aileen. Back then, Aileen had confessed it was her first time having alcohol, and Silver was rubbing her back while Mylarka watched. Hearing this, Silver says it's not what she thinks and adds that he was surprised when Aileen undressed because she was feeling sick. When Aileen apologizes for making Silver go through all that, Mylarka says they might be telling the truth, while Manaria suggests she believes them. So, Mylarka reveals that she was thinking of giving them her blessings if they were really a thing, since they look good together. However, Silver chips in that Aileen has the right to pick her partner, but adds that picking someone like him would only ruin her aura. After this, the ladies discuss Silver's lack of confidence and end up blaming him for it. However, Manaria disagrees and says she has never forgotten Silver's name since the day he made his request before the king. After this, Manaria tells Silver that although he looked light on his achievements, it's obvious that he was an essential person on the team of heroes. While Silver freaks out on hearing this, Manaria comments that he acted like a pitiful drunkard when she visited the bar to make her request, and adds that she was happy when he gave her alcohol. After this, Manaria holds Silver and tells him to always discuss with her if he ever needs help. Later, while they drink at the guild house, Aileen drunkenly tells Mylarka and Silver that she's glad they made up. Just then, Silver serves a drink to Mylarka and explains that it's a herb drink that's good for her eyes, while Mylarka comments that he's thoughtful about such things. After this, she asks Silver why he hates the spotlight so much, and he explains that he has no reason. Mylarka then accuses him of always going out of his way to stay hidden and chips in that he'll be able to fulfill his ideal if he could increase his social standing. Just then, Silver decides to tell her the made-up story of a boy who was stronger than the average person and was told never to use his strength by his parents. When the boy grew up, a magical beast showed up in the village, and he defeated the beast with a tree branch to help his friends escape. Afterwards, he narrates that the boy became lonely and the villagers started treating him as if he were dangerous. In response, Mylarka says that the boy's misfortune is because he didn't meet people like himself and commends the boy for using his power when it's needed, since it's the braver option. Hearing this, Silver reminds her that it's a made-up story, but Myarka states that she understands why he doesn't want to stand out. Afterwards, Mylarka pours Silver a drink, and when he expresses his surprise at this, Mylarka says that she'll forgive him for his comments and tells him to drink up. A week later, while they hang out again, Aileen asks Mylarka about her recent experiments at the university, and she responds by saying she's been researching the most efficient ways of destroying buildings made from different materials. Just then, the doorbell rings, and Cody, another member of the team of heroes, asks to sit beside Silver. When Cody places an order for a cold ale, he asks Silver if the princess won the duel because he helped her. In response, Silver comments that it must be obvious to people who know his magic. As the commander of the Knights and Silver's only male comrade on the team of heroes, Cody states that he felt nostalgic when he felt Silver's enhancement magic during the duel. Silver then asks if that's why he came to see him, and Cody comments on the bar's ale being on a different level. However, Silver says he doubts that Cody showed up to drink some ale. Just then, Cody says he didn't want to be the one to bring Silver a job and reveals that he needs his assistance in defeating a fire dragon. Hearing this, Silver states that since the fire dragon recently appeared, Cody could easily subjugate it by himself. He then asks if there are any circumstances troubling him, and Cody reveals that he has a subordinate named Tamisu who volunteered to subjugate it. Hearing this, Silver then predicts that Cody's subordinates must be C-ranks if they were adventurers. In addition to this, Silver states that even rank adventurers would have a hard time subjugating a fire dragon and suggests that Cody rejects the reckless volunteer. In response, Cody reveals that he can't since the king ordered him to make it happen. Surprised, Silver asks Cody how Tamisu is related to the king, and he reveals that she's the king's mistress's daughter. Sometime later, Tamisu shows up at the guild house and tries to introduce herself. However, the shopkeeper stops her midway and tells her not to, since the guild house is a place to enjoy drinks. So Tamisu apologizes and says she's not used to places like that. When Verlaine asks for her order, Tamisu orders some milk. Meanwhile, Silver figures she looks just like Manarina. Just then, her associates walk into the guild house, talking about how unnecessary their stop at the guild house is. Rhea, a female knight and sword master, then boasts that she can cut down the fire dragon with one sword, while McKinley, a male sniper, agrees with her. After this, Tamisu says that they only need whatever useful information the guild has regarding the subjugation of the fire dragon. In response, Verlaine tells them that the guild's information is always useful and asks them to make a promise to be faithful and obedient. Suddenly, Rhea gets pissed while Tamisu calms her down by saying they'll hunt down the dragon to meet her father's expectations. Just then, Verlaine says she can guarantee the success of the quest if they work together. When she apologizes for her disrespectful request, Verlaine reveals that they need to confirm the fire dragon's ecology. She then reaches for a book on a shelf and hands it to Tamisu. On checking it out, Tiramisu realizes it's a manual on how to defeat the fire dragon. Annoyed, Rhea asks Verlaine if they're supposed to hit the dragon with it. In response, Verlaine says a fire dragon expert named Duke wrote it. When she further explains that he was a B-rank adventurer who successfully subjugated a fire dragon, Tamisu wonders who the author is. Meanwhile, Rhea says if it really happened, then the author would have been more famous and the book would be on the bestsellers list. Curious, McKinley says he'd like to borrow the author's power if he single-handedly subjugated the fire dragon. Meanwhile, Timisu flips through the manual and wonders how its author has so much knowledge about the fire dragon's way of living. Since it was a book written from Silver's research under the name Duke, the knights wonder who the mysterious author is. After accepting Cody's request, Silver visited a forest to gather information about the fire dragon and wrote the book to help with its subjugation. Despite this, Silver figures it won't be easy for Timisu, a C-rank, and her team to pull it off without getting hurt. So he decides to increase their combat strength and orders Verlaine to give him the special milk and another too. Curious, Timisu wonders why an alcoholic is placing an order for milk. However, Rhea tells her to ignore the drunk and focus on the request. Silver then comments that he'll treat them all to a drink since things don't go well when people are tense. Just then, Verlaine serves McKinley and Rhea glasses of rum, while Timisu gets the special milk, which was obtained from a giant behemoth and is best used with Silver's strengthening magic. So when Timisu says that Silver must have given her milk because she's young, Silver hands her a tray of cookies while saying she's not old enough for the alcohol. Annoyed, Rhea comments that Silver is being disrespectful to think formalities are not needed because they're in a bar. McKinley then offers to taste the milk for poison, but Timisu says it's unnecessary and drinks up. When her comrades follow suit, they all marvel at how delicious it tastes. So Verlaine suggests they continue their discussion on the subjugation of the fire dragon. When Rhea asks if reading the notebook is all they have to do, Verlaine explains that there's a condition to the quest. She then explains that the strategy in the notebook will enable them to capture the fire dragon. However, the guild gets to keep the beast while they can own the achievement. When Verlaine adds that taking the dragon is payment for helping with their request, Timisu says the chivalric order has no interest in demonic beast materials, and adds that all she needs is the achievement. 3 days later at the guild house, McKinley reveals that he has memorized the fire dragon's movements and asks if the strategy will work. In response, Timisu says that she understands how strong the fire dragon is, since it's a beast different from any she's ever fought. Verlaine then asks Timisu why she's going after the fire dragon, and she explains that it's a requirement to take the promotion exam for vice captain in the chivalric order. Curious, Verlaine asks what she aims to achieve as the vice captain. So Timisu reveals that she admires and would like to meet Manarina at the vice captain ceremony. While Rhea wonders if Silver gets paid to get drunk and to motivate other customers, Timisu reveals that she's the daughter of the king's mistress and wishes to protect her mother since the other nobles look down on her. So Verlaine suggests that she get some rest in preparation for the subjugation. However, when they prepare to leave, Silver taps the counter twice, so Verlaine tells the knights to wait. Shortly after, Silver hands Verlaine a sheet of paper, and she says she understands. She then informs Timisu that there's one final thing that needs to be done before she leaves. Just then, Verlaine asks Timisu if it's okay to write a rune on her body, but she asks if it'll help with the subjugation. When Verlaine confirms this, she explains that there's an exclusive room where the runes will be written on her chest. However, this doesn't sit right with Rhea, so she asks if it's necessary, but Timisu says it's all right. Curious, McKinley asks if he and Rhea will get runes too, annoying Rhea, who then asks if he's looking forward to getting a peek at Timisu's body. Meanwhile, Silver wonders if he's going too far, since the rune is an insurance to keep Timisu from dying. In the exclusive room, Verlaine asks Timisu to get undressed, but she says it's embarrassing since a knight's body is different from that of a receptionist. After talking her into being comfortable, Verlaine warns that things might get ticklish and gets to work. While she paints on Timisu's bouncy castles, Verlaine explains that the paint will disappear afterwards, although she can't remove it from her body for some time. Just then, Timisu says she doesn't want her chest to get any bigger and asks if the guild can help with that. In response, Verlaine reveals that the master can increase her size, but can't make them smaller. Curious, Timisu asks what the master does to make it get bigger, and the shopkeeper explains that he makes use of his god's right hand and the demon's left hand. While Timisu feels impressed by this, Silver overhears the conversation and worries about his reputation. So he decides to punish Verlaine later, while Rhea stares at him with a questioning side eye. The next day, the knights arrive at the forest, and since they've memorized the playbook, Timisu figures she can do it. So they head towards the hole where the fire dragon lives. Meanwhile, at the guild house, while Verlaine cleans the tables, she tells Silver that he seemed to have made the preparations more carefully than usual this time. When she points out that she could sense Silver's magic decreasing the previous night, Silver asks her to bring him what he usually drinks and see him in an hour. In response, Verlaine says that she knows his heart is somewhere else and adds that she's not thinking of stealing the talisman. When Silver says that he trusts her, Verlaine responds by saying she gets to be alone with him until the store opens. At the same time, Timisu and her associates hide near a pond in the forest, waiting for the fire dragon to show up for a drink. Just then, Timisu feels something snuggle in her chest, and when a firefly escapes, Rhea wonders if it's been hiding in her armor all along. Just when McKinley says he's jealous of the firefly, Rhea stares him into submission. While Manarina observes the firefly, the fire dragon suddenly flies overhead and flaps its wings as it descends near the pool. When it lands and takes a drink from the pond, Timisu decides to draw its attention and tells her comrades to do it as planned. Suddenly, she charges out of the forest, and when she gets the attention of the fire dragon, it roars. So, Timisu calls out to McKinley and tells him it's time. Just then, McKinley aims his bow and shoots a silencing bullet, which blows up in the fire dragon's mouth. While the fire dragon coughs and growls, the silencing bullet seals the fire dragon's breath. Suddenly, Rhea charges out of the bush and slashes the fire dragon on its side. Immediately, the dragon tries to take off into the sky, but while it flaps its wings, it suddenly gets hit by another bullet from McKinley, which blows it out of the sky. As the fire dragon falls, Timisu prepares her shield and knocks the fire dragon's head with it. Afterwards, Timisu and Rhea face the fire dragon head-on, and Rhea suggests they finish it fast. So they attack the fire dragon by poking it with their weapons, hoping to drive it into a spot where a restraint chain trap is set. However, the fire dragon goes berserk at a point, but it suddenly gets hit by an arrow from McKinley. While the ladies keep attacking, thinking they can beat the fire dragon, the beast roars. When Rhea glances at Timisu to tell her to remain focused, she spots the dragon's tail swinging towards her, so she suddenly pushes her away and gets slashed in the process. Shocked, Timisu stares at the injured Rhea, who then says she's fine. Seeing this, McKinley wonders what went wrong while the fire dragon prepares to unleash its rage on them. So McKinley arms his bow with a silencing bullet and shoots it at the fire dragon. However, the fire dragon knocks it off with its wing. Seeing their plan just went south, McKinley draws the dragon's attention from the bushes and advises the ladies to escape. However, before he finishes, the fire dragon knocks a nearby rock into McKinley's face, knocking him unconscious. Just then, the fire dragon turns to the ladies while Rhea suggests that Timisu leave her and run. However, Timisu refuses and picks up her shield while claiming it's enchanted with fireproof magic. When she advises Rhea to escape, they both hide behind the shield as the fire dragon approaches. Suddenly, the fire dragon exhales flames while Timisu mutters her last words. Suddenly, someone tells her not to give up, and after all she has learned, so Timisu drops her spear and grabs her shield, and the fire dragon suddenly blasts her with its fire breath. However, Timisu holds up the shield, which blocks the flames as she spots the firefly floating right above her. When the flames stop, Timisu falls to the ground while Rhea struggles to get back up. Timisu then says she's glad her comrades are fine. Just when Rhea tells Timisu that a knight shouldn't show her tears, Timisu says she knows and helps Rhea get up. Just then, she notices that Rhea's wounds are gone, surprising Rhea herself. On checking the fire dragon, Timisu realizes the fire dragon has been captured by their trap and has been put to sleep by many paralysis sleep bullets embedded in the trap. After this, she checks out the damage done by the dragon's fire breath and wonders if they were protected by the shield. Just then, she spots the firefly still floating above her and suddenly remembers the runes on her chest. She then wonders if the firefly is from the runes, but it suddenly vanishes. At the guild house, Silver wakes to find Verlaine looming over him, so he says he saw it coming. In response, Verlaine says she had told him she'd fool around with him since she had the freedom. Silver then says she doesn't have to do that to entice him when she could find the talisman. Just then, Verlaine tries to suffocate him with her airbags while saying she won't do something that boorish. While she asks Silver what he thinks about her Giga Orbs, he figures he's a few seconds away from being KIA. So Silver snuggles to escape the weight of her Milky Way wonders, but since he had no luck, he uses his hand and raises them to break free. Silver then claims it's an accident, while Verlaine says it's hard to win a man over. When Silver states that she has to work hard on her methods, Verlaine asks how the subjugation went. In response, Silver reveals that it went well and adds that Tamisu and her team thought he was just a firefly. Hearing this, Verlaine chuckles at the idea of her master being duplicated as a firefly to accompany the knights. When Silver says that he should have been more patient since Tamisu and her team were close to defeating the fire dragon, Verlaine asks what he plans to do with the captured fire dragon. Some days later, while they walk through a bushy path, Mylarka asks Silver where he's taking her, and he reveals that he has something to show her as a way of thanking her. In response, Mylarka says that she doesn't remember doing something to deserve his thanks. Just then, he shows her a pasture where the fire dragon is kept, and Mylarka asks if it's dangerous. Silver then says it has been tamed quite well by a dragon master. So, Mylarka points out that Silver has always been a monster lover, but she suddenly gets interrupted by a baby dragon. Suddenly, Mylarka freaks out and cuddles the dragon while claiming it's cute. While Silver watches her play with the baby dragons, Mylarka snaps at him and threatens to exterminate him if he imagines her hugging their future kids. Silver then wonders why she suddenly switched moods while Mylarka keeps talking to the baby dragons. Sometime later at the guild house, Tamisu presents her dragon scale and is congratulated on her successful subjugation. Verlaine then states that the fire dragon has been taken to a safe place, while Tamisu says she's glad to have brought the request to the guild. When Rhea reveals that they ran into some problems and wondered how they managed to pull through, McKinley says that Duke guided them until the very end. While Silver listens like it's none of his business, Tamisu says that she'll pay the guild with everything she possesses. She then requests to meet Duke at least for a moment to thank him. Just then, Rhea also says she'd do anything for Duke to train her, while McKinley begs to join the guild. When Tamisu insists on meeting Duke, Verlaine says she'll ask him to meet her when she becomes the vice-captain of the Knights. On hearing this, Tamisu decides to become stronger, and the doorbell to the guild house rings. Just then, Manarina walks in, and on spotting Tamisu, she says it's been a long time. Surprised, Tamisu asks Manarina why she showed up at the guild house, and she reveals that she was called by Silver. Confused, Tamisu asks who that is, and Manarina points to Silver, who was drinking at the counter as usual. When she reveals that Silver is her savior, Silver figures his cover is about to be blown. Just then, Rhea says she thought Silver was Duke, while McKinley says he thought Silver was just a booze lover. Relieved, Silver lowers his cup while Mylarka gives him the side eye. She then sighs and asks Silver to recommend a drink for her, but Silver says he'll treat everyone since it's a joyous day. Shortly after, they celebrate over drinks while Silver observes Mylarka. Verlaine then whispers to Silver that he'll have to take responsibility when his identity gets revealed, and adds that he'll soon rule the country from the shadows. However, Silver says he has no intentions of doing that, and adds that he doesn't understand women. In response, Verlaine asks if he'd like her to make a book on the topic, and Silver asks her to go ahead if she has the time. Some days later, while Silver chills at the counter, Verlaine thanks Lisa, an adventurer of the guild, for her hard work. In response, Lisa orders some ice-cold ale and sits before asking Silver if the seat is free. When Silver confirms that it is, Lisa thanks him and comments that he never changes. When she thanks Verlaine for the ale, Lisa reveals that there's an orphanage on the outskirts where the director has been bedridden for a while. Verlaine then says it's unfortunate and asks if the director contracted a disease, but Lisa says that the director deteriorated after being in a bad condition. While Lisa speaks of rumors about a ghost that appeared in a mansion somewhere in the city, Silver figures the orphanage must be the one in the parish. Shortly after, Silver visits the orphanage, and on entering the building, he finds Yuma, a priestess and member of the team of heroes with the power to purify the undead by praying. Since Yuma received the orphanage as her reward for the Demon Lord's subjugation, Silver asks about her weird weight loss. Yuma then giggles and points out that Silver must have heard that she's sick and has given up. So Silver asks if the orphanage is doing well. When Yuma confirms this, Silver says that it's okay to have some fun sometimes, even though working is important. However, Yuma says that there's nothing to shake her soul since the capital is at peace. Curious, Silver asks if she's been able to use her magic since she returned to the capital, and Yuma jolts. When she asks Silver how he knows, Silver says she's always about her magic, but she hasn't talked about it. In response, Yuma says that since the capital is at peace, she can't perform the Requiem magic anymore. Hearing this, Silver flashes back to a moment when Yuma was so eager to use her magic and almost sent his soul to the great beyond with it. As he heads out, Silver thinks of how lucky he was to calm her down back then and wonders how he could help Yuma. 2 days after this, Silver used his guild members to inform the people of the Holy Church about his guild and how it works. Although he thought they would reach out to him in the form of a formal request, a couple from the church shows up at the guild house, and the man introduces himself as Grenadine and reveals that he came to discuss the circumstances concerning his daughter. Surprised to see Yuma's parents, Silver drinks up from his cup and sticks to his script. When Grenadine reveals that his daughter collapsed while trying to continue his legacy and the doctors couldn't treat her, Yuma's mother begs them to save their daughter. Verlaine then says she understands and adds that there's nothing impossible for the guild. After this, she states that they'll find the cause of the illness and heal her. Later, when Silver narrates the situation to Mylarka and Aileen, Mylarka says that although Yuma looked healthy the last time they met, her cheeks look thin. Aileen then confirms this and says they should do something about it. So, Verlaine says she has a request for the ladies and suggests they have a sleepover with Yuma in a certain location. Hearing this, Aileen gets excited about the idea of recuperating at a hot spring. While Silver smiles, thinking he can leave the rest to the ladies, Mylarka pokes his shoulder and asks why he's pretending it's none of his business. In response, Silver tells Mylarka to have fun at the sleepover and not to worry about him. Just then, Verlaine chips in that Silver was probably wondering if it's okay to join the ladies, shocking Silver, who then says he wants to help Yuma without her knowing he was involved. Hearing this, Aileen asks Silver why it's bad if Yuma finds out, and Mylarka reminds them that Silver doesn't like being praised. A few days later, the ladies arrive at the house picked for the sleepover, and Silver welcomes them with a mask. After introducing himself as Sebas, he states that he's in charge of the mansion. While Yuma ignorantly tells him to treat them well, Aileen almost blows his cover but asks if he's prepared enough booze for them. Mylarka then asks why he's putting on a mask, and Silver says he can't show his face. When he invites them into the mansion, Aileen comments on the size of the mansion while Mylarka wonders if it's bigger than her house. So Silver announces that he has prepared their room and tells them to relax till dinner is prepared. After this, Mylarka says that they can ask for anything since Sebas is a specialist in hospitality. So Aileen asks for a massage, making Silver wonder why Aileen is going off plan. Just then, Yuma looks up and says that she feels the presence of some dead souls that need soothing in the house. Mylarka then asks if something is wrong, but Yuma explains that she also felt a harmless soul that doesn't have to be sent to heaven. On hearing this, Silver figures it's just as he thought, so when the ladies ask him if something is wrong, Silver suddenly realizes that Aileen is ready for her massage. While he hesitates, Aileen says she'll be in his care. Just then, Silver remembers he once gave finger pressure massages during the Demon Lord subjugation and decides to use the same idea on Aileen. When he goes to work massaging her back, Aileen makes happy noises. Mylarka then tells her how she sounds, while Sebas intensifies his efforts, making Aileen make more noises. At this point, Silver pauses and says that the massage would be easier if she lay on her stomach. So, Aileen suggests they do it in the bedroom next door, while Mylarka chips in that Silver would keep his hands off her hot spots. Meanwhile, Yuma says she can't allow a man to touch her body since she's a priestess. Just then, Silver pushes Aileen into the bedroom before she blows his cover. When she lies on the bed, Aileen apologizes for almost slipping up, while Silver worries that his cover will soon be blown. Just then, he decides to do his best to put Aileen to a peaceful sleep till dinner time. After Aileen serenades the other ladies with her bedroom symphony, she sleeps as a happy woman, and moments later, Mylarka joins her. Afterwards, Silver has Yuma sit and tells her to remain still while he works his magic without touching her. When he asks how she feels, Yuma says she feels good and reveals that she has an important comrade who has similar abilities. So Silver plays the dumb card while Yuma talks about how cool her comrade is. After she reveals that she's inspired by him, Silver says that it's a wonderful job being a priestess. But Yuma responds, saying she has a long way to go since she hasn't helped anyone in a while. Shortly after, Silver announces that he's done, and Yuma thanks him for making her body feel lighter. She then decides to rest while Silver says he'll prepare dinner. However, when he leaves the room, he hears a tapping sound and decides to check out the attic. When he opens the door, he finds a lady standing in the attic and asks who she is and how she got in. In response, the lady curtsies and says they're meeting for the first time. She then says she's from the family that owned the mansion. Just then, the lady reveals that she used to be a member of the family that owned the house and introduces herself as Beatrice Storin. On hearing this, Silver states that the Storin family is at the pinnacle of the nobles in the kingdom and reveals that he bought the mansion. The lady then calls Silver by his name and reveals that she understands the situation. Shocked, Silver wonders if the mansion is covered with an intel-gathering spell since she knows his true identity. So he asks if the Storin family could access the mansion, but Beatrice says they can't and adds that she has never been out of the mansion. However, Silver says it's impossible since they checked the house several times but didn't see her. When Beatrice reveals that she has been there the whole time and explains that she's present everywhere in the mansion, she adds that she has to watch over the mansion even if the family abandoned the house. On hearing this, Silver asks if she's a spirit who looks after the mansion, and Beatrice confirms this. She then states that there is a priestess who has the power to purify the house. When she states that she can't disappear just yet, Silver assures her that Yuma will not ascend a harmless soul. He then asks Beatrice about her circumstances, and she reveals that she wants to keep living in the mansion. While they had dinner, Aileen asked Yuma about the harmless soul she mentioned, and Yuma confirmed that it was still looking at them. Just then, Mylarka says that it doesn't feel good to know that a female spirit is stalking them, so Silver tells them to be careful when they leave their room at night, since the mansion has a dark history. Irritated, Mylarka asks if he's trying to scare them on purpose and threatens to make him lose his job, but Silver denies this. Aileen then says they don't have to worry since they have Yuma there. Meanwhile, all Yuma could think of was having Silver, so when Mylarka points out that Yuma might have a heart attack if they don't do something, Yuma returns from Fantasy Island and asks what they're talking about. Aileen then states that she has pent-up frustrations, while Mylarka suggests she ascend Silver to heaven with her magic to feel better. Hearing this, Silver asks if the ladies have some enmity towards him, but Yuma says she doesn't, while Aileen urges her on. When Aileen reminds her of how the undead feel happy when they're ascended, Mylarka asks if she can understand the feeling of the undead. After Yuma geeks out, answering the question. The ladies then tell Yuma to calm down since she is running out of breath. Later in the bath, Aileen says it's been a while since they took a bath together, and when Mylarka confirms this, she adds that everything will be fine since they are together. Afterwards, Aileen asks Mylarka if she's scared of the spirit, but Mylarka denies this and warns Aileen to keep her hands off her floating buoys. However, Aileen comments on their increasing sizes, while Mylarka insinuates that it's not a reason enough for her to touch them. While Yuma fiddles with her mini saucers, Aileen suddenly grabs them. So Yuma says her assets are not as good as theirs, but Mylarka tells her she's still growing. Meanwhile, Silver wonders why no one could live in the house, since he couldn't sense any malicious intent from Beatrice. Suddenly, he looks out the window and spots some dark spirits emerging from the ground, so he barges into the bath to call Yuma, but accidentally finds the lady's assets on display. So he calms himself and shuts his eyes while praying his little man to sleep. Meanwhile, Aileen tries to deal with the ghosts, but can't, so Silver suggests that they escape and regroup, but Mylarka says she is sure Yuma can help them. So Aileen calls on Yuma, who is sitting and zoned out at the moment. When a ghost spirit approaches Yuma, Silver figures it's time to blow his cover and step in, but Yuma suddenly glows with a bright light. Since purifying the dead without casting spells is not normally done by priestesses, Yuma breaks the record by silently purifying the souls of the dead. Suddenly, She releases a surge of light that bursts out the windows and spreads through the city, surprising Silver, who then wonders how far it goes. After this, Yuma says she has forgotten how good it feels to use her magic, and adds that it's what she needs to live. So, Yuma says she'll have to talk to them about Beatrice and suggests they go to the attic. When she turns and finds Silver turned away, he says he barged in because there was an emergency. So Mylarka hands Yuma a towel to cover herself, and she suddenly realizes she's without clothes. Shortly after, they arrive at the attic, where Silver introduces the ladies to Beatrice. When Beatrice introduces herself, she states that she has been bestowed with the name Storin. Aileen then states that she can tell that Beatrice is a demon from the color of her eyes, and adds that she didn't know Prince Storin had some kind of connection to demons. However, Beatrice says it's not so, and reveals that Lord Storin was doing magical research in the mansion. On hearing this, Silver asks if it's summoning magic, and when Beatrice confirms this, she states that she's a Wraith Queen species who was summoned. So Aileen says it's unbelievable, while Mylarka asks why she hasn't disappeared from Yuma's purification if that was true. In response, Beatrice reveals that her summoning contract makes her a member of the Storin family. Just then, Yuma says she finally understands why the ghosts gather at the mansion, and explains that Wraith Queens are the queens of all species, so the undead converge at the mansion because of her. Beatrice then states that she swore to protect the mansion in a contract and can't disappear for this reason. Suddenly, she emits a dark aura and states that she'll have to fight if they really want her to leave. Meanwhile, Silver wonders what would happen if Beatrice disappeared and tries to figure out a way to make her stay without having to fight. So Silver steps forward and announces that he has a suggestion. He then explains that a demon lord is capable of overwriting any demon contract, but Beatrice says that the demon lord has been banned from leaving hell. Hearing this, the ladies figure Silver must be talking about Verlaine. So Aileen reveals her identity and promises to secretly bring the demon lord to release her from the contract. Suddenly, it occurs to Beatrice that they must be a part of the team that subjugated the demon lord, while Aileen suggests a way to end the problems with the mansion, finally. Moved by this, Beatrice tears up and suggests they make her disappear instead. Yuma then explains that she understands Beatrice's undying loyalty to her master's mansion, and adds that her soul isn't meant to go to heaven yet. Suddenly, Beatrice breaks down in tears while Yuma holds her, and Silver watches, feeling glad to have brought Yuma along. Afterwards, Beatrice reveals she has never cried in front of anyone before, and Aileen explains that doing that reduces her magical power. So Beatrice says she thinks she might disappear when the sun rises and asks if someone can give her some of their life energy. Hearing this, Silver figures things might go bad if Beatrice doesn't get the life energy, so he wonders who will agree to it. But since none of the ladies were volunteering, Silver figures he'll be purified if he takes on the offer too blatantly. Just then, Aileen gives him a thumbs up, making him wonder what it means. When Mylarka says she's not down with sharing hers, Aileen nominates Silver since he has a lot of magic to spare. So, Silver offers to share his life energy with Beatrice, thinking that all it would take is a handshake. However, Beatrice announces that she needs to prepare and vanishes. Later in a bedroom, Silver takes off his mask and lies in the bed while thinking of how long the day has been. Just then, he hears a knock on the door and asks if it's Beatrice. When he thinks of opening the door, Beatrice passes through the door, reminding Silver of what she is. So Beatrice shows up dressed for a rough night, surprising Silver, who then asks what happened to her clothes. Beatrice then says he doesn't have to act in front of her, and reveals that it's her first time taking a gentleman's life energy. She then suggests he get rid of the formalities and goes to work unbuttoning Silver's shirt, while he asks how she intends to take his life energy. Ignoring his question, Beatrice tells him to be gentle while he touches her. After this, she explains that sharing his life force through his hands is slower and gives Silver consent to let out the monster in him. When she explains how lonely it feels spending the night with the undead for many years, Silver asks if she's sure since they just met. Just then, she let her silk garment slip and told him not to feel guilty while she took the life energy from him. So Beatrice touches Silver and tastes his life energy. She then comments that it's sweet, but adds that it won't be enough to sustain her body. Meanwhile, Silver had heard that Wraith Queens are always cold, but was surprised to discover that it feels normal. So Beatrice comments that she'll only be satisfied if Silver keeps his engines running till daybreak, surprising Silver, who then wonders if he could pull it off. The next day, Silver heads to the mansion with Verlaine, and when Beatrice spots her, she bows. Verlaine then says that it's unnecessary since she's no longer the Demon Lord. Surprised, Beatrice asks Verlaine if she abdicated, but Verlaine reveals that she has ruled long enough to have people loyal to her. Just then, she assures Beatrice that her family is safe since she ordered them to defend the rear without engaging the Demon King's punitive team. Beatrice then asks why she would give an order like that, and Verlaine explains how she lost to Silver and his team despite the efforts of the 6 Demon Dukes. When she states that she admires Silver's abilities and skills in combat strategy, Beatrice asks if that means Verlaine is Silver's servant, but Verlaine evades the question and says it's something like that. Hearing this, Silver points out that they didn't sign any contract to validate this. Afterwards, Verlaine tells Beatrice that terminating the contract with the humans will bring her under Silver's control. She then asks Beatrice if she's cool with it, but Silver chips in that he has no intentions of controlling Beatrice. So, Beatrice reveals that it's hard to consider leaving after tasting Silver's energy flow. When she adds that she would like to establish a contract if Silver is willing, Verlaine suggests they get started. Silver then places a hand on Beatrice's shoulder while Verlaine does her thing. Shortly after, Verlaine announces that Beatrice will share Silver's name and inscribes it on her soul as his maidservant. Afterwards, while they leave, Verlaine points out that Silver's magic is more drained than usual, and Silver says it's because he supplied Beatrice with magic the previous night. On hearing this, Verlaine advises him to get enough sleep at night, while Silver asks if she's thinking of something. Later at night, while Silver lies in his bed thinking about the previous night, he hears some sounds through the door and wonders if it's Verlaine trying to steal the talisman. Just when Verlaine walks into the room, Silver tells her to take the talisman if she can find it. However, Verlaine feels his south pole through the sheets, and he freaks out when she suddenly straddles him. When Silver asks what she's up to, Verlaine says that he has been a bad boy with Beatrice. In his defense, Silver says that he didn't go too deep, but Verlaine refuses to believe him. After she says it's not an excuse, Verlaine touches Silver's lips and states that it's her duty to attend to her master's needs. When Silver says he's feeling much better, Verlaine says that he's yet to fully recover and adds that she'll replenish his magic. She then grabs Silver's hands and places them on her chest handles. Suddenly, Verlaine makes happy noises while Silver tells her she's making the wrong kind of sounds. Ignoring this, Verlaine says that she's trying to supply him with magic just like he did with Beatrice. Meanwhile, Silver thinks of how her magical bubbles feel through her thin clothes. He then squeezes them like stress balls while Verlaine screams in ecstasy. Since it's his first time receiving magic, Silver realized he's been filled with more magic than usual. Just then, Verlaine comments that she feels like she went through her entire body, but Silver tells her to filter her words. So, Verlaine says she needs to take a break since Silver's capacity is so large. Silver then tells her to rest as much as she needs, and Verlaine crashes into the bed beside him. She falls asleep immediately while Silver wonders if he's stuck in a loop. The next day at the guild house, Silver thanks Verlaine for making him feel invigorated, while Yuma chips in that her parents were satisfied with the results of their sleepover. After this, Yuma says she regrets not appearing healthy, and Silver tells her that Yuma must be quite important to the people around her. When Yuma points out that Silver would make an amazing butler, Silver says he thought he hid his identity skillfully enough. Afterwards, Yuma says she'd like to understand everything about Silver's soul, while Verlaine comments on Yuma's extraordinary power and adds that she thought Yuma would purify the entire capital since she's been out of action for so long. In response, Yuma explains that she had been told to act in moderation to prevent the church from losing work. Just then, Yuma reaches into her bag and says she won't be a bother to the church. She then pulls out a mask and states that Silver inspired her to be a masked priestess who helps villagers having troubles with ghosts. Hearing this, Silver says it's a good idea and adds that they can go on more adventures together. So Verlaine serves Yuma a non-alcoholic drink to celebrate her recovery, and they all celebrate. Sometime later, Yuma and her girlfriends went on an adventure to a village where the souls of the dead appeared. Since the place is outside the jurisdiction of the church, Yuma says it's difficult to get to such places and suggests they get to work tidying up the place. Suddenly, the spirits of the dead appear, and Yuma eliminates them with magic while Mylarka and Aileen annihilate some monsters nearby. Because of this, they soon became famously known as the Masked Saviors. Meanwhile, at the guild house, Cody rants about being excluded from all the fun while Silver drinks. Silver then points out that Cody must have other commander business to attend to, but Cody says he can still make time when busy. So Silver then says that if they ever need his power, they'll rely on him. While they talk, a hooded person walks into the bar. Verlaine then asks what she would like to order, and the customer says she'll have milk or whatever she can only get at the store. While Cody stares at her suspiciously, Kirsch takes off her hood and says she heard the guild accepts all kinds of work. Hearing her speak, Silver figures she must be the servant of a noble and wonders why she's so irritated. She then rants about her helplessness and wonders how such a matter could be happening. Silver then points out that she seems terribly impatient and suggests she calm herself. However, Kirsch snaps at him, asking what he wants, and Silver responds by saying he'll buy her a drink to commemorate her first visit. So he orders Verlaine to give a drink to the customer, and Verlaine serves a cup of drink to Kirsch, who then calls Silver a drunkard for drinking so late into the night. However, when Verlaine suggests she continue her story, Kirsch points out that the drink contains an apricot. Unknown to her, the drink has a calming effect. So, Kirsch drinks up while Silver wonders what will happen to the spirit of an irritated woman after drinking it. Afterwards, Kirsch reveals that the drink is not as bad as she anticipated. So Verlaine asks how she's feeling, and Kirsch says she feels the drink seeping into her entire body. Shortly after, Kirsch empties the cup and decides to retract all the rude remarks she made. After this, Kirsch says that it could lead to the country's collapse if they make a mistake, and reveals that someone is scheming against the country. When Verlaine asks her who it is, Kirsch takes out a pen and a note while saying it would be difficult if it got out. She then scribbles the person's name on the note and hands it to Verlaine, who then checks it and is shocked. When the shop closed, Kirsch introduced herself and apologized again for being rude. She then explains that she's Vinceberg's servant and explains why she's ratting out her master. Meanwhile, Silver and Cody listen from another room, so Silver reminds Cody that he's got work the next day, but Cody tells Silver not to worry, since it's a matter of the guild. In addition to this, Cody tells Silver to use him whenever he needs him. So, Kirsch reveals that Vinceberg is plotting with Velvecchia, a republic on the western border, to overthrow the Albine kingdom. So when the Duke and Velvecchia communicated through letters, his secret messenger was robbed by bandits, and the letter was stolen. When the bandits learned the contents of the letter, they threatened the Vinceberg family, and Kirsch received an order to buy the letter from the thieves. Although the initial order was to buy the letter, Kirsch receives a second order to eliminate the thieves. When she executed the order, Kirsch retrieved the letter and read its contents without opening it, using her clairvoyance skill. She then discovered that the failed marriage with the princess was part of the plan. Just then, Verlaine asks if the Duke is trying to invite the Velvecchia army into the capital to raise a rebellion. Kirsch confirms this and reveals that the Marquis tried to rush his marriage to the princess to have a legitimate claim to the throne. Hearing this, Silver figures Albine would have been attacked if the engagement had worked out. Just then, Verlaine comments on Vinceberg's selfish behavior, and when she adds that only her guild will be able to accomplish the request, she states that there's no need for a special reward, since it's a serious affair of the kingdom. Just then, they decide to settle the matter satisfactorily. Hearing this, Cody asks Silver if he finally feels like relying on him, and they agree to handle the request together. Later, Verlaine joins them and states that they just received a large-scale request. Silver then says that once they solve the request, they should wait for the heat to cool down since they'll attract more attention. Verlaine then points out that Velvecchia must be mobilizing their troops and points out that Silver must have come up with a plan. Just then, Silver reveals that Verlaine has become rusty and states that he's left with a difficult alternative, who doesn't know how to go easy on people. Somewhere else, Mylarka feels weird and wonders if someone is gossiping about her somewhere. At the Magical Institute of Albine Kingdom, Mylarka reaches for a book on a shelf but can't. And while she comments on how inefficient it is, keeping things up there, Silver shows up and picks the book while asking if it's the one she's reaching for. Surprised, Mylarka asks how long he's been watching her, and Silver says he just got there. After flipping through the pages of the book, Mylarka asks Silver if he has any questions for her. So Silver asks if she wants to join the masked magic users, but Mylarka suddenly refuses while Silver begs her to hear him out. Mylarka then reveals that it's an exception she made for Yuma and asks Silver if he thinks he could make her put on a mask. While Silver tries to talk her into it by flattery, Mylarka tells him to give it up. After this, Mylarka tells Silver to get another book on the shelf and promises to consider his request for a bit. So while Silver gets the books, Mylarka reveals that she's glad he showed up since she needed a beast of burden for the heavy books. Hearing this, Silver only hears the part where she's glad, so he says that he's glad to be a simp. Sometime later, Silver and Mylarka ride on the fire dragon, and she asks if they're really going to be all right. Silver then responds by saying he already instructed the dragon with a flute and asks Mylarka to hold on to the reins. However, Mylarka asks Silver to hold her hand till she gets used to it. Meanwhile, Silver worries about how much she'll have to say about their present position later. As they fly through the mountains, Mylarka announces that something is coming into view and asks if it's all right to just blow it all up. On taking a closer look, they realized it was a Berbikian scout party, since Albanian soldiers don't wear black steel. Suddenly, Mylarka spots one of the soldiers pointing a sword at a girl, so she seizes the reins and directs the dragon towards the soldiers, determined to show the Berbikian soldiers the power of the masked saviors. After the girl runs through the forest to escape from the scouts, she stumbles, and the Berbikian soldiers catch up with her. While they have her cornered, the fire dragon breezes past them as the soldiers call out to their commander. Luckily for him, the commander escapes losing his head to dragon claws, so he suddenly notices the dragon has some riders and orders his men to shoot them down with arrows. However, when the archers aim at the dragon, Mylarka snaps her fingers and a spell gets activated. Immediately, the soldiers' weapons were destroyed, shocking the commander, who then wonders what was wrong and says it's humanly impossible. Just then, Silver tells them to surrender quickly and restrain themselves. On realizing that it is an Albanian dragon master, the commander announces their retreat, and they flee. So Silver covers Mylarka's ears and casts a protective spell on the girl. Afterwards, he activates the dragon flute, making the dragon roar loudly, while the soldiers' horses freak out and throw them off. When the fire dragon lands, the girl claps in excitement. While Mylarka tries to talk to the girl, Silver asks if the girl could understand the new beast man language. In response, the girl says that she can, and wonders how Mylarka can understand her language despite being human. So Silver checks out the bodies of the Berbikian soldiers while the girl points in a direction and announces that more Berbikian soldiers are camped over there. After this, she narrates that the Berbikians asked them for half of their food and threatened to start fires in the mountains if they didn't comply. When Mylarka asks what happened next, the girl says that the men of the Tiger Folk tribe were taken away since they looked strong, while the women were held hostage. After this, the girl reveals that she was able to escape because she had everyone's help. Mylarka then hugs the girl and assures her that everything will be all right since they are there with her. So Silver ties up the soldiers and suggests they locate the camp, since the hostages might still be there. Shortly after, the girl introduces herself as Rico and asks them for their names, but Mylarka states that they are the masked saviors who can't reveal their real names. Rico then requests that they tell the elder of her tribe when they find them. Suddenly, the dragon takes to the sky while Rico waves them off. At the Berbikian camp, a soldier on guard yawns as a hook lands on the fence near him, and Silver silently sneaks in. Shortly after, the soldier discovers the hook and wonders how it got there. Suddenly, the soldier feels a knife on his neck, while Silver tells him to keep his voice down and asks about the Tiger Folk. When the soldier questions Silver about who he is, Silver tells him to give answers to his questions only. So the soldier points to a tent and says that the beastmen are all gathered there. Afterwards, Silver tells the soldier to behave when he wakes up and knocks him out cold. Silver then goes incognito and walks past the guards guarding the tent. He peeks into the tent and finds a soldier intimidating the prisoners and telling them their fates. While one of the tiger folk stares angrily at the soldier threatens to do something about it if he doesn't stop and pulls out a whip to make him comply. Afterward, the soldier spews some trash about beast men being similar to monsters, but Silver suddenly appears and smacks him on the face, knocking him unconscious to the surprise of the tiger folk. He states that he has no malicious intentions and reveals that Rico sent him to rescue them. However, the elder worries that he is a stranger who suddenly popped out of thin air, while the others wonder how he could speak their language. Afterwards, Silver quietly leads them out of the tent while the elder asks how he plans to break them out. Just then, Silver says that it will be dangerous and tells them to stand back. After this, he draws his spirit blade and swings it while facing the fence. Suddenly, the fence collapses into a heap of chopped wood, and the tiger folk escape while thanking Silver. Suddenly, he gets surrounded by the Berbikian army, who then ask if he thinks he could get away unscathed. Just then, Silver points to the sky and activates a magic circle while telling the soldiers to think of their families and surrender if they don't want to die. At that moment, Silver shoots a beam of light into the sky, and while the soldiers look up, the fire dragon suddenly shows up in the sky. While Mylarka worries about Silver doing everything by himself, she casts a fortress destruction spell, which causes a wide range of devastating damage to the camp. Seeing this, the soldiers go into a frenzy while Silver marvels at Mylarka's precision and accuracy. After this, the soldiers announce their retreat. That same night at the Tiger Folk village, Silver lies in a tent thinking of how the rescue mission ended and the feast the Tiger Folk celebrated in their honor. He had slept off after getting drunk, so Silver figures he hasn't seen Mylarka or Rico and wonders if they're asleep. Shortly after, he heads outside the tent and senses their magic nearby. So he heads out to check them while hoping they're fine since they're together. Shortly after, he spots some bamboo walls and wonders what's going on behind them. When he takes a peek, he finds the ladies taking a bath and suddenly turns around. Just when Rico talks highly about the masked saviors, Mylarka points out that everyone still has something against humans. So while she washes Rico's back, Mylarka asks Rico if she really likes Silver, and when Rico confirms this, Mylarka says he hasn't noticed yet. Mylarka then comments on how smart and handsome Silver is while he eavesdrops on their conversation. Just then, Rico states her intention to know more about Silver, and Mylarka promises to visit again with more of her friends. After Silver leaves, Rico points out that Silver just left and adds that she thought he'd joined them. Suddenly, Mylarka clutches and melons and asks why she didn't say anything, but Rico assures her that Silver was only there briefly. Afterwards, Rico suggests they marry Silver together and adds that Mylarka can be his first while she'll be the second. While Mylarka gets amused by this, Silver lies in his tent and slaps himself, regretting his action. He then takes off his mask and figures he probably had too much booze at the feast. In the royal capital of Albion Kingdom, Irene, a member of Silver's guild, stands on a roof and feels something wiggle in her chest. Suddenly, a firefly pops out and apologizes to Irene for keeping her waiting. Just then, she realizes it's Silver's small soul, and when he asks about Vinceberg's men, Irene informs him about the number of nobles and guards in a nearby building. Afterwards, Irene hops off the roof and lands on the balcony of the building. She then overhears the nobles planning to kidnap either of the princesses. While they discuss, Silver tells Irene not to destroy the building while fighting to avoid causing problems for the inn. In response, Irene says she'll do her best. Suddenly, Irene walks in on the meeting, surprising the nobles, who then ask if she's a bandit or one of the kingdom's pawns. Just then, the nobles call for the mercenaries they hired and ask Irene what she plans to do. Immediately after this, the nobles dash towards the door, but Irene beats them all with her superior martial arts. Drawn by the noise, the mercenaries barge in and find the nobles beaten into a pulp. So they ask Irene where she came from, and one of them suddenly throws daggers at her. However, Silver tells Irene to look out, so she blocks the daggers and comments that she is a maiden whose face shouldn't be hit. Just then, the other mercenary draws his sword and says she won't be able to deflect it like she did the daggers. However, when he attacks her, Irene does a backflip while the other mercenary throws more daggers her way, but the daggers hit Irene's cloak instead, making the idiot think he hit the bulls. When Irene lands in front of him, she scares him to bits and asks what he is trying to achieve by putting holes in her clothes. Annoyed by this, the other mercenary goes for her head, but Irene ducks and disarms the swordsman. She then knocks him out with her superior martial arts, and he crash lands. After this, Irene pops out a blade in her shoes and attacks the other mercenary, who then gets his hand impaled by the blade. So he suddenly freaks out and calls Irene a monster, but she tells him he's paying for the broken door. Just then, she finishes him off with a barrage of punches that leaves the mercenary smoking. Impressed, Silver comments that Irene seems to be in the zone, so she announces that the masked saviors won't leave any evildoer unpunished. When Irene says that she regrets not getting to show off her strength, Silver asks if she wants to fight him, but she passes on the offer. Afterwards, she picks up one of the nobles and asks Silver what they'll do with them. In response, Silver states that they need more information, so the noble reveals that Berbicia is attacking the next day. So Irene asks him about their plans, and the noble reveals that they were headed to the western border. When he tells Irene to be prepared to surrender to the Berbicians, she punches the life out of him and asks Silver what they'll do if Albine loses. Silver then suggests they show off their strength at the border to prevent that. Afterwards, Silver asks Irene if she could relay a message to Cody. Some moments later, Irene knocks on Cody's window and reveals that she's got a message for him. Cody then asks if it's from Silver and points out that he's in the middle of preparations. Just then, Irene asks Cody if he was having a bath before heading out, and Cody reveals that he got sweaty after training the troops all day. Just then, Irene shuts the windows and advises Cody to take it easy once in a while. In response, Cody says she finds it difficult to always use bandages and takes off the bandages to set her melons free, while saying she hopes Irene kicks her skinny behind like old times. Just then, Irene reveals that she was surprised when she found out that Cody is not a dude. When Irene adds that she'd tell Silver the truth if she were in Cody's shoes, Cody says the bandages aren't that bad. Curious, Irene asks Cody how Silver didn't realize it since they are always together. Cody then says it's because Silver trusts her. While Irene helps Cody with the bandages, she chips in that it must be hard keeping it from someone dear to her. At this point, Cody thanks her and says she's fine while adding that she forgets most of the time that she's lying. In response, Irene says it's what a liar would say. After this, Cody announces that she wants to be Silver's sword and adds that she'll do whatever he says. Irene then says that she hopes Silver finds out how much she likes him soon. In response, Cody says she'll have to erase his memory if that ever happens. Later at the guild house, Verlaine leads Cody into a secret underground while she comments on how surprised she is to find out it exists. Shortly after they arrive at a teleportation portal, Verlaine points out that as long as she's in the shop, transportation spells are possible. So Cody comments that she had a hard time fighting against Verlaine's dark magic during the subjugation. In response, Verlaine says that it's the first time they're talking about the battle, so she asks Cody why she didn't try to end her during the battle. So Cody reveals that she didn't because Silver thought ending her would result in an endless grudge between demons and humans. After this, Verlaine clicks a button on the wall while Cody narrates how she confronted Silver about his decision. Just then, Verlaine asks Cody why Silver hasn't realized the truth about her, but Cody responds by saying her friendship with Silver is all that she wants. Afterwards, Cody gets in the circle while Verlaine explains that she's being transported to the inner side of the kingdom's border. Suddenly, a crystal glows nearby, and Cody vanishes while Verlaine wishes her success. On the other side, Cody meets a man who asks if he could offer any help, and she says that some guards were bribed by corrupt nobles. After she orders their arrest, Cody puts on her mask and asks to be regarded as the masked savior. A few moments later, Cody arrives on the border, and the soldiers try to stop her, but she suddenly vanishes before their eyes. When she lands on the highest point on the wall, the soldiers spot her and tell her to get down, but one of the soldiers suddenly spots the Berbician army from afar and screams of an enemy attack. Suddenly, the guards go into frenzy mode while Cody tells them not to move. Surprised, they wonder if she's got a few screws loose, so they called a retreat, making Cody wonder if they've been bribed by corrupt nobles. So Cody decides to send the Berbikian army back home. Suddenly, she summons her Sword of Light and swears upon her real name to activate the sword. When the light blade activates, the Berbikian army marches towards the border. Suddenly, an attack from Albion burns through a Berbikian flag and surprises the soldiers, who then wonder how it happened since they're out of range. However, the commander says it's just a lucky shot, but before he finishes this morale-boosting speech, another attack takes off his helmet and blasts their siege towers. Seeing this, the soldiers freak out and announce their retreats, surprising the Albanian soldiers who watch them flee and wonder what happened. So Cody explains what she did and states that she won't always be there to save them. She then urges them to give themselves to daily training and vanishes. Confused, the soldiers try to figure out what just happened. Meanwhile, as Cody leaves, she decides she'll have to deal with the soldiers later. Just then, Silver and Mylarka fly by on the fire dragon while Cody blocks the rays of the sun to see. She then says she's becoming a piece under Silver's command. After the end of Vinceberg's household conspiracy, the members of the Demon Lord Punitive Force showed up at the Stalin family's mansion. So Silver welcomes them to a prepared table while masked and dressed as a butler. The ladies then marvel at this, while Yuma apologizes for being unable to help with the conspiracy. However, Silver states that they got the Stalins help during the conspiracy, thanks to her purification of the mansion. On hearing this, Yuma says it's better she didn't have to get in combat, surprising Aileen, who then hugs her and says she's outgrown her penchant for pacifying souls. Yuma then says she's just holding back the desire and adds that she'll notify Silver once it's built up enough. While Silver thinks about this, Yuma reveals that although she feels satisfied with her masked activities, she can't forget how she felt when she purified the entire mansion at once. Afterwards, Yuma says that she wants to touch Silver's soul and tells her to feel free to do it. However, Yuma responds by saying she'll wait till Silver has aged and is ready to depart to the great beyond. Silver then gasps and says he'll need a wife first before thinking of a family. Just then, Mylarka interrupts their conversation by saying they're all seated and awaiting his butler services. So Yuma says that they'll continue later and hurries off to get a seat, while Silver asks his guests what they'll be having. While the ladies settle for Silver's recommendation, Yuma says she doesn't want alcohol, and Cody says that she'll have ale as always. However, Aileen suggests she takes the same drink as them and chips in that it's good to vary sometimes. When Cody agrees, Silver says it's rare, since Cody only takes rum and ale, and decides to prepare a fitting blend for her. A few moments later, the meal is brought, and Beatrice announces that it was hand-cooked by Silver. Then she adds that she'll have to request regular recipe lessons and mana supply from Silver. Afterwards, Cody comments that although Beatrice needs it to keep her body up, others will be starved of Silver's magic. After this, Aileen says she feels jealous and comments that Silver lacks self-awareness, while Mylarka adds that Silver lures people but never gives the treat. When Yuma asks Silver to give her more of his attention, Silver ignores all that and tells the ladies to raise their glasses for a toast. Mylarka then asks how long he plans to keep his mask on, and Silver says he has to keep up his butler act. However, since the ladies won't let him off the hook this time, Silver takes off the mask and they all make a toast. Meanwhile, at Silver's crib, Verlaine enters his room and reaches for his pillow, since he won't be returning until late. Suddenly, she dives into the bed and hugs his pillow while anticipating what she'll do to him if he shows up by morning. After this, Verlaine sniffs his pillow and realizes that it smells like sunshine and soap. She then comments on Silver's splendid obsession with cleanliness and his hardworking nature. In over 50 years of Verlaine's existence, she figures, she has never seen anyone like Silver, so she squeezes his pillow while thinking he wouldn't believe her if she told him she fell in love at first sight. Afterwards, she comments on how sad it feels waiting all alone and recalls how she left the Demon Kingdom to meet Silver. While she thinks of showing Silver her Demon Lord self once more, since all she does is play the cute housewife every time he leaves, she squeezes his pillow and says she'll pin him down if he makes her wait too much. Just then, Silver tells her there's no need for that and begs her to go easy on him since he's back. Shocked, Verlaine freaks out and asks how long he's been listening to her. In response, Silver apologizes for making her house sit and promises to make it up to her. However, Verlaine tosses him out with the door slamming in his face. Despite this, Silver asks if everything is all right, but Verlaine tells him to leave her alone for a second. While she thinks of what he means by making up for it, she wonders if he'd really do whatever she pleases. However, she realizes she can't ask anything unreasonable, while Silver says he didn't know she was inside and apologizes for barging in. Silver then knocks on the door and asks if he could change his clothes, while Verlaine thinks she might not remain his maid forever. Which of Silver's baddies would you wife up if you were him? Let's know your thoughts in the comments. And if you like more videos like this, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.